Quaint New England vibes with a French-Canadian twist. Quebec's eastern townships are a stunning area of lakes, vineyards, mountains, and villages, just an hour's drive from Montreal, and sharing a border with Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. We're diving into the eastern townships for adventure, food, and fun, staying at a luxury property that inspired a famous mystery novelist, whizzing through the treetops on a wild zipline roller coaster, wine tasting, trying treetop cycling, and more on this episode of the Travels with Darley podcast in Quebec. We're starting our adventures in Quebec's eastern townships in North Hatley, a charming small town where century-old homes mix with art galleries and antique stores. I'm here to explore Manoir Hovey, a luxurious small inn located on the shores of a large lake. We're close to the border of Vermont here in North Hatley, and the area feels to me like a mixture of England's Lake District and New York's Finger Lakes. Known for its beauty, wineries, and outdoor adventure opportunities, this part of Quebec was settled by Americans, British loyalists, Irish, Scots, and more during the 18th century. Manoir Hovey's property is stunning. The sprawling white clapboard country inn is set amid beautiful gardens. There's a lush green lawn dotted with Adirondack chairs and a big outdoor porch where dining al fresco means views of tall trees and the peaceful lake. I'm sitting down to have an iced tea and soak in lake vibes in those green Adirondack chairs with Jason Stafford, a third-generation hotelier who has a lot of family history along the lake. He's sharing what has drawn guests to this part of Canada throughout history, including more recently the Clintons and mystery novelist Louise Penny.
And you got to grow up here.
I did. I'm a third-generation hotelier. My grandfather started another property at the opposite end of Lake Massawippi, so it's there's sort of a lot of history of our family on the lake here.
I love all of these beautiful, colorful flowers, the black-eyed Susans, and it just really makes the view over the lake here pop.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on the gardens at Manoir Hovey. It was something that my mother was very passionate about. So the English gardens have always been a key feature of the property in front of the manor building.
Louise Penny, the famous author, has also stayed here and written many books from this location.
Exactly. Louise Penny is a great friend and loyal guest of Manoir Hovey for over 30 years. And then she based one of her award-winning books called A Rule Against Murder on the property. Her books are translated into multiple languages, and we have guests from around the world at any given time to retrace the steps of what inspired Louise Penny in her books.
It's not just the beautiful setting that invites travelers to visit Manoir Hovey and the eastern townships, but also the cuisine, influenced by area products and the land. The restaurant on site serves up locally sourced dishes, including poutine. Poutine is a popular dish in Quebec, consisting of French fries topped with cheese curds and gravy. The poutine I'm trying at Manoir Hovey's restaurant is made with ingredients that are very local. This one is different because it is created with a birch syrup. We're surrounded by birch trees on this property. The cheese curds are also local. I've got my local IPA and this jar of s'mores for dessert. I thought the birch syrup would make it sweet, but not at all. It tastes kind of caramelized or a little bit like molasses. The cheese curds are super tasty. This is definitely a poutine winner.
We will lower the sec wire here and we'll put a geotextile to create a tent. And that would give us a tent.
I love supporting female entrepreneurs on my travels, and I also love good wine. So when I heard about Leon Courville Vineyard and female winemaker Anne-Marie Lemire, I had to stop by. This vineyard is open to the public, and it's about a 45-minute drive west of Manoir Hovey, making for a fun excursion into a more rural part of the eastern townships.
I read this is a century-old sugar shack.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we started. We were making maple syrup. That was the first produce that we were making. We still do it, and it also allows us to keep our employees on a full-time basis. In the winter, after we're finished making some of the wines, they go in the forest and work on the sap.
I'm taking a walk through the vineyards with Anne-Marie, who looks smart in her white jeans and blue and white striped button-down shirt. Her straight gray hair hangs just above her shoulders, and we both got on shades. It's a sunny day in the eastern townships, and each of us is bringing with us a glass of wine. Because why not do an interview at a winery with wine? I'm trying a white and Anne-Marie a rosé.
Why is this area so good for growing the grapes that make this good wine?
Well, the thing is here, it's a bit warmer. We have a lake right in front of us, the Brome Lake. Brome Lake is very shallow. So in the spring, all the heat from the lake stays in the valley here, so it's warmer. And the soil is also perfect. The soil is from the Champlain Lake, and when it retired, it left a lot of really good thing for the soil. So it grows easily, but it's also very sandy, and the roots have to go very deep to find their nutrients. And so it's very good for growing grapes. The industry in Quebec, the wine industry, evolved really, really quickly. And now here we're growing 12 different types of vines, but in total in Quebec we are growing 84, I think, different types of vines.
Wow.
People are experimenting, and more we're finding vines that grow more easily here in the northern climate.
Yeah, it's nice to come up to this property because people look so relaxed. I mean, obviously we're drinking this great wine and this beautiful setting. It kind of helps, but it seems like a place to really slow down, which I appreciate being in a city a lot.
Yeah, well, that's what we tell our visitors. Just relax here. The time stops here, you know, because you just look at the view. You can see so far. You can see far from the mountains here are the last one from the Appalachian, and it's just beautiful.
Which is just, I mean, this is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It reminds me a little bit of, like, I've got a Finger Lakes, I've got a Great Britain vibe, Lake District happening here.
Yeah, you're right there. I didn't think of that, but you're right, yeah. And this area is where most of the wineries are in Quebec. We have a route, a wine route, and you can visit, I think, 22 or 23 different wineries around here.
Well, I'm doing my own Poutine route, so I guess I'm adding wine into it now.
I'm sure there's a nice accord to do with that. There's so many different poutines and so many different wines in Quebec.
Yeah, life is good here in
Quebec.
Yes,
it is.
Cheers.
From lakes, farms, and vineyards to rolling woodland. Next, I'm trying an innovative experience with a company called Velo Volant, located near Sutton.
So I've tried a lot of adventure experiences, but this is definitely a new one. I'm gonna be biking through the treetops.
There's one in Mexico, there's one in Florida, and then we are the tallest one in the world, so the one that goes up highest. Yes.
Love those big numbers, love that Guinness Book stuff. Let's do it.
Have you ever seen a recumbent bicycle? These keep you lower to the ground as you pedal. So I'm actually in a recumbent bicycle that is attached to a high-performance cable. So as I pedal away from the start of the circuit, I'm heading deeper into the forest. And high up, too. Up in the forest's canopy.
This is actually a really cool way to enjoy the forest.
We're so used to seeing the forest from the ground up, and then when we go up in the air, we're used to zip lines where we go fast, we scream, we close our eyes, and then it's over. Whereas this, you really have the time to really appreciate the forest from the top down.
Yeah, I like it.
And that was just the warm-up. See what happens when a zipline meets a roller coaster. I'm now heading to Mont Sutton, a winter ski area that in the summer welcomes travelers for all sorts of outdoor adventures, including flying through the treetops on a zipline coaster. I've got on a helmet for this adventure, and I'm now seated in a harness. I've hiked up trails at the ski mountain to reach the start of the zipline coaster course, and already I've seen a few people screaming as they flew by me on the coaster. In my harness, I'm attached to another high-performance cable. So if you can imagine holding on like you would for ziplining, but seated in a chair, that's my setup.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh. Whoa, I feel like I'm gonna hit these trees.
And for this next part, you're just gonna have to listen to me squeal and scream to understand just how much fun this truly is. I don't get scared easily. I've gone swimming with sharks in Dubai, jumped off a building in Macau, China to do the world's highest commercial bungee. And I'll tell you, this zipline coaster, it's a lot of fun.
So I'm hiking up the mountain 3 times, people, for the love of making sure this experience is filmed properly.
But it will throw you around a bit. I did it a few times, and I'd do it again. So if you want to drink wine and eat good poutine, sit by a beautiful lake, or perhaps stroll through vineyards, or you're a thrill seeker who wants to fly through the treetops in multiple ways, take a walk into the wilds of the Eastern Townships for adventure, fabulous food, and fun. I'm Darley Newman, and I love to have new adventures and share them through my long-running Travels with Darley TV show on PBS and streaming, and now this podcast. So if you like to travel or just want to hear about cool things, please subscribe and find me on other platforms too.